Hi again. There's a lot of warm-up on the violin, and you can choose one or two or three, whichever video that you like to warm up with. Out of these three videos, I'm showing you very simple ways of how to warm up as a beginner or as an intermediate student. If you are a senior student, you are able to play Mozart violin concerto or Beethoven sonata and so on. You don't need these kind of recommendations as much, because in your mind you already have the knowledge of repertoire and you can easily pick any of those passages in the pieces that you have learned and becomes your exercise first thing in the morning. For instance, Violin Concerto by Tchaikovsky, there's a lot of D major scales. I remember warming up with them. Double stops and Beethoven Violin Concerto, and all those are just wonderful, wonderful way of practicing intonation. And here we are for number 3, easy warm-up that I would like to recommend to you. And this time we're going to do with a scale, just first position scale. Of course, if you're intermediate players, feel free to go up to 3-octave scale, and which I love to do on D major. But right now, I'm going to cover first 2 octaves in the first position, G major scale. Now, since it's very difficult to warm up one hand without thinking the other, because they're always going together and you have to think about both hands, and that's how wonderful it is when you practice violin. It makes your brain very active and really does make you very smart. So if you're a young student, I recommend you persist and keep practicing. Playing the violin helps you in many ways of your study. And I know that for a fact. I know that with my children. I know that for years, 20 more years of teaching, and many, many students, their successful stories. And so I would encourage you, keep on practicing. These warm-ups should not take more than 10 minutes. Actually, number 1 and number 2 videos should not take more than 5 minutes. But this one will take you a little longer, and I'll explain why. We're going to play 2 octaves G major scale onto the 4th finger of E string. And this is what the scale sounds like. When you go up, use open string. When you come down, use 4th finger. Now, since it's very hard to explain 2 hands at once, we're just going to go slowly and build up the speed while explaining the 2 hands. One of my mentor, and many years ago, first violinist of a renowned string quartet, I asked him what he does before the concert, and he said he would play a scale that's extremely slow, with his right hand absolutely practicing in such a way that the suspension of the arm and the sustain of the speed, and that gain control and gain focus, make him focus and really build his concentration. And I thought we're going to use that to practice, to recommend that to you today. And of course, every note on the left hand, making sure that it's very in tune. When you strike down the finger, as I mentioned in video 1, when you strike down a note, we may not, of course, we will never sure it's in tune unless you are years of practice. But it's very important for you to decide beforehand how far this finger distance is. Make sure that at least you know it's a whole tone coming up or it's a half tone coming up. Never go down and hear a wrong note and then wiggle to its in tune position and then go on as if nothing happened. If you do that, it's dangerous because you're not forming a habit and gaining the knowledge of where your fingers are supposed to go. So I rather you strike down out of tune and strike again to the place where you think is in tune, than strike out of tune and slip into something that is in tune and go on. All right. So always think if you are going half tone or whole tone, and better yet, if you be able to hear the pitch before you come to this note, that's even better. And it will really help. I would recommend all violin students to able to sing a major scale in any key. It doesn't have to have notes. Simply hum. Something like that. So you actually be able to hear the intervals and approximate pitch. All right. So here is G major scale. And very slowly, we're gonna work decisiveness of left hand, and then sustained of right hand speed. Trying to control your arm so that you'll be able to play and save your bow as long as possible. String cross, you always anticipate a little bit. Relax your left hand, don't squeeze. Second finger, know where to go. Most students' second finger goes too far. Keep the pinky where it is. Try not to curl back. Now A string coming up, drop your elbow just a little bit. You always anticipate the action. It could be 8 seconds or 10 seconds per bow. What's coming up is C natural. And trying to relax this bow arm on the right hand. You can play as long as slow. You may be able to play slower than I can, and that's very good. Keep the bow straight. Fourth finger or open E coming up, my fault. So you could tell that it was out of tune. And because you hear it, you adjust immediately. We're going up to the fourth finger. keep your first finger where the position should be. Try not to come up. Lift your fingers as clean as possible. Second finger should be already down, and just lift the third. So your first finger should be down in the position of half tone, and you just lift. Now halfway here, fourth finger must get ready because you will need that. And then elbow ready on the right. Don't press the sound into any way. Just sustain as naturally as you can. Third finger, and then second should be already down. So when you lift the 3, the 2 is right there already. And during this time, if it's out of tune, adjust it. Always listen to tuning. Fourth finger ready, elbow up. Third finger down. The left elbow should pivot over. Elbow a little bit ready for G. And this elbow coming to facilitate the distance so that you're comfortable on G. The right hand should always feel a little suspension. Don't press down this way, but this way. You will feel that you are pulling the bow, okay, not pushing the bow. When you push on the down bow, it gives a very cross, very unpleasant sound. And then it's also tiring you out. Just pull the bow, pulling meaning that you acknowledge the weight of the object you try to move. Pushing means you overcome the weight of the object. So that was a slow bow control kind of warm-up for the right hand, while paying attention to your left hand accuracy. While you practice, you must think of many things. Either whether you are in tune, in time, you must also anticipate the next fingering step, next bow change in this exercise. It will gain control of your right arm, and it will make you focus more and focus your mind, and it will calm your heart down, especially before your performance. For the easier beginner students, you only have to play the first 1 octave, just first octave, G string to a third finger onto D string, that G, and then you can repeat that G going back. And this is how I would recommend the much beginner student do. It's try to play 5 seconds per note, per bow. Put the clock or your iPhone in front of you, looking at the second go by, 5 to 8 seconds. See if you can hold it that long. While you are playing, make sure the bow doesn't travel anywhere else, and try to be as perpendicular with the string. That will give you a very clean sound. If your violin is down but your bow is regular, you see how it's not a very straight cross. So you need to raise your violin a little higher, and so that you see that it becomes a plus sign, all right, across this way. That will give you the cleanest sound. So slow violin scale practice also train you to have straight bow. And if you practice in front of the mirror, that will be ideal. Thank you. I will see you next time. I will do a faster speed in a scale, what we just talked about. And this next time, I will talk about more of how left hand should be structured. I'll see you next time. Bye.